All right. I think we're going to be live here. Gotta set this up so, you know, this is all high tech here, kids. All right. We're a little early, but I'm just going to get open up a little early because I want to make sure people can get here a little early. Oh, that's good. You know how that goes. Um, Timothy will be here momentarily. He'll be there. Always had the guest show up, so in time for the show. But I just wanted to get here a little bit early, so hopefully people will come here and say hi, and we'll get this ball rolling. All right. So it is a beautiful day here in southeastern Michigan. Um, yeah, it's really pretty. It says it's 80 degrees, but I dare say it might be a little earlier, little warmer than that. Uh, yeah. So, all right. Oh, yeah, it's a little warmer than 80, I think, I dare say. But it's nice. It's a really nice day. Yesterday morning was like that. It was beautiful, just like pow, like you're in, perfect summer weather. And I got up early and I fed the cheetah his dried zebra and gazelle pieces, and then I headed back upstairs to get a little bit more shut eye. And it was really bizarre. I don't know if this has ever happened to anybody, but have you ever gone to bed where it's been super, super beautiful, sunny day, then you wake up and it's dark as hell, and the first thing you think of is, I slept the day away. I slept all day. That's what happened to me. I I woke up and uh yeah, well, it was like a little horror show when I woke up because it was so dark. Um, it was so dark. I thought, oh my God, did I sleep the day away? I didn't, but we had two huge thunderstorms come in back to back, and they were letting us have it. But it was just so amazingly like it was nighttime. But today it didn't do that. If anything, it sort of reversed it. It was cloudy today, and now it's clear. So nice and sunny out. Beautiful day. I'm just glad I was managed to get a hold of Tim before because it's a beautiful day. It's a it's a day you take your kids and your family out for a walk and get ice cream or play in the park. But we're doing 8 questions with instead, so we're really happy about that. So okay, and now it says I'm froze. So I have to go back out and unfreeze myself. Got a kick in the ass. Let me. All right, and now there's Tim. Ta-da!
Hey, how
Hey,
are
hey,
you?
hey!
Can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly.
Awesome. Likewise. Ah, beautiful day today. I was
I
in.
know. I was just saying that. I was sitting there going like, this is the day that this is where day where you grab your little boy and you grab your wife and you leave the house and you go get ice cream or play in the park.
Yeah, Jamie and Spencer, they went to Kings Island Amusement Park, and I had to work. So, yeah, they had a fun day of Spencer's first roller coaster, I believe, was today, and he made it through.
I absolutely love it. I love the name Spencer. That's why I always say Spencer. Oh,
Spencer, yeah, when we knew we were going to have a boy, I knew I wanted to name my son after one of my favorite actors. It couldn't be Jack for Jack Lemmon because Jack Cox it just doesn't flow right.
Right.
Jamie didn't like Jason for Jason Robards. Albert is my father's name for Albert Finney. And so
Okay.
she didn't. And then as soon as I said Spencer for Spencer Tracy, she was like, that's it.
Now, see, I thought it was Spencer for Spencer from Spencer for Hire from Robert Parker.
You know it now because I'm a huge fan now. It's funny. I didn't even think about it. I was always, but yeah, I guess one could make the argument that it's for Spencer Tracy and for Robert B. Parker in honor
Well,
of Spencer.
I think one thing you need to do though, Timothy, you need to have another son and name him and name him Hawk. And there you
Absolutely.
go and say this is Spencer and Hawk, and then everybody would know exactly where you're coming from.
Exactly. The I started reading Robert B. Parker. My God, I guess about 8 years ago, and I've read all of the Spencer and the Jesse Stone and the Sonny Randall. I haven't read the westerns yet, but I actually want to read them because I remember I never saw the film Appaloosa, which was based on the first of the Parker western novels, but it did fairly well as I recall.
Yeah, I was not aware. I remember when Appaloosa came out. I remember when it came out. It came out. I think it came out on TNT or TBS because they got away with a little bit more violence, and
Hmm.
but I didn't know that was him. Um, I
Yeah,
I read
prolific
all the
writer.
Spencer too.
Yeah, they're good. It's funny. I'm reading the George Simenon Maigret novels now, and I mean he's got 72 of them, and I think I've finished 30 of them. But someday I would like to go back and start the Spencer novels again because they're just they're just great, and it just makes you fall in love with Boston and just all of the characters and now he's it's a great series.
You since you lived in New York, I mean, you guys must have went down to Boston quite a bit.
Yeah, I would go there, for the tour guide stuff, and I would also go there. I maybe went there one or two times. Malice, Massachusetts, actually
Right.
that was one of the big film projects that I did in the Boston area, and that was fun. And but it's a great town. It's a great town. I would definitely want to get back there and visit a little more just to learn. There's so much rich history there too. It's just you just get swept up in it.
I like to go. I like that actually is one town I like to visit.
Yeah.
Just for the history.
Oh, sure. There's so
I
much of
like.
it.
I love to see Fenway Park. I like to see Fenway Park. I actually would like to go see Fenway Park when the Yankees are not playing, because I would like to actually root for the Red Sox. It'd be
Yeah.
fun to sit there and root. I mean, it'd be fun. And I couldn't do it as a Yankee fan. I just couldn't. I would just have to, hurt feelings.
This
And
is yeah. God, this is probably from like 20 odd years ago. I think I was in college and I was visiting. It was the first time I'd ever been to Boston with a friend of mine from college, and we went to go see a game at Fenway Park, and it's really something. And then afterwards, we went to a bar, and my friend was kind of a smart aleck, and he said, "Tim, how about if I go up to the bartender and ask, does Bill Buckner ever come in here?" And I said, no, because this was before the Red Sox had won, and I said, there are two names that you do not mention. You do not mention Bucky Dent, and you don't mention Bill Buckner. And I said, these guys, they hold a grudge. They have
yeah.
not won the World Series, like the curse. And he said, how long could they hold a grudge?
Oh,
So I said, if there's a fight, I'm going to be the first guy thrown through a window, like a Nerf football, basically.
right.
And my friend went up to the bar and he asked, and the bartender just kind of looked at him and said, I can tell you're not from here. And the bartender was this big Brian Dennehy looking guy, and I thought, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die in Boston. And and he said, it wasn't that bad, but I think he was sweating a little bit, but because it's like, but yeah, no, but thankfully now the Red Sox have won a couple of World Series.
Yeah, that helps. It does.
It
I
does.
thought you took the PG version of Bucky Dent too, because
Yes.
They call Bucky a little something different,
Oh yeah.
and they still do. I mean,
They still do.
even after they won those three championships, and they still, yeah. I mean,
The colorful nickname for Bucky Dent. And the thing is, for Bill Buckner, I mean, like, he had a very distinguished career, but that's the thing that they,
Yeah.
that's kind of like, that's his obituary, like, it's kind
Yeah,
of,
I'm sure it is on him because he passed away. He passed away early.
that's right. He did. That's right. I remember it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they actually credit some of that to the stress and the trauma that he suffered after because of that game, because he really never was quite the same person.
No. Well, and the thing is, for the pressure that those athletes, like, I mean, I always remember Scott Norwood when he missed that Super Bowl kick playing for the Bills in the Super Bowl.
Right.
I mean, and just, like that, I mean, I don't know the rest of his career, what that was like, but that's what people are going to remember him for forever. Or it's kind of, so the pressure for the when you're in the spotlight at that moment. I mean,
Yeah. Impressive.
it's hard.
Let's see. Oh, Michael says, Timothy, love you, brother. Hope you are well. This is our good friend Michael. He's a dedicated film collector and a tremendous supporter. There's my co-host from the Midnight Hour, Hobbs. Greetings, Hobbs. Throwing out some pumpkins. That's his calling card, is pumpkins.
Very nice.
Yeah, he is the king of the spectacular. So yeah, let's see. It is dead on 8, so we'll give it a couple more minutes to see people know I go on at 8. So
Sure. Yeah.
I'll give a few people some minutes to get here, and then
Yeah.
we'll get this going. Yeah, I was just looking over. Some of the things you've done, and wow, it's so impressive. It's amazing. And yeah,
It's yeah.
I counted. You are the number one actor on my blog of whose films I've reviewed. I've reviewed 16 of your films.
Wow. Thank you. And I appreciate that. I mean, like, and it's funny, you look back, there are many of them that I'm, very, very happy with. I think the older ones, from the early 2010s, you can go back and like go, I could do it better now. I could do it, but that's every actor. I mean, I think, Gene Hackman said that you never buy the whole thing. You buy fragments, little pieces. And I think that's true. I think that's kind of like why we keep doing it. It's kind of like, you think you're going to get a little closer to figuring out the answer to this great question. Well, what is acting? What is the ultimate, in playing a character? The reality is that there is no answer. You could always have another rehearsal, another take, another shot at it. And it's kind of what makes it fun.
I think too, like I know, Stanley Kubrick was infamous for, the 130 takes. And quite honestly, I'll be truthful with it. I don't agree with that at all. I think if he kept on, your performances are going to be the strongest probably within like the first 4 or 5. The best you're going to get are probably within the first 4 or 5. But if you're sitting there making someone do it by the 20s and the 30s, every time it's going to get weaker and weaker because they're tired. They're mentally
Well,
tired.
yeah. Well, and I think also, there was a friend of mine who worked with Sidney Lumet, and he said the reason why the quality of his films and the performances were so is that he rehearsed it like a play. Now, some people, the value in rehearsal, some like the spontaneity. I think I have to fall somewhere in the middle because the more prepared you are, the more open you are. 130 takes. I don't think I've never encountered a director who's done that, or the story about David Fincher doing, I think it was 100 plus takes in The Social Network, or Warren Beatty making Gene Hackman do, I think it was 100 takes for a bit part in Reds. Um, no, I mean, I think like you kind of wonder, like, after take 20, what are
Hmm.
you going for? Like,
Yeah.
or what are you not getting? And then as an actor, after a while, you start to kind of maybe get into your head, and then you start to do things that are completely away from the intentions and the objectives laid out. I mean, I think it depends on the part, but yeah, and the director and the material, but also, yeah, 130 takes, that's a lot. I mean, I think he drove poor Scatman Crothers to tears, I believe.
Yeah, probably Shelley Duvall as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but the thing is, there were directors like Kubrick and Elia Kazan who used to wanted to get their actors in a place of, I guess, I don't know, of discomfort, like to not be comfortable. Like this is more than just you show up, you learn your lines, you hit your marks, and you do it. And it's a real test of an actor's mettle. I mean, I think we've heard the stories. I mean, I think it's affected Shelley Duvall's health and and all of that. I mean, but I think it just depends on the project. But yeah, I think in general, 130 takes after take 10 or 15 or 20, you start to wonder like what's going on here. But everybody's
Um,
different.
yeah, it was really interesting. I was some of the processes the actors do. Like I like watching Scrubs, and so I was always listening to the back, always listening to stories about Scrubs. And one of the things they always commented was how a lot of actors would comment about they really loved working with John C. McGinley.
Yeah.
But he had a really bad habit of after they did a scene that the other actor felt particularly good about. John C. McGinley would just sit there and sit there and say, "Oh, we could do. Let's do one more. Or let's do it again." Before they said it's cut and ruin the take. And the other actors would sit there and say, "That's really frustrating because it's like here you got a good take, but all of a sudden he decided that because his performance wasn't up to his,
Mm.
he's going to go ahead and override everybody."
Wow, that's a
That's,
shame. I've
that's
I've never I've never heard that about him.
Yeah, I mean, it was just something he did. I mean, he didn't try. He wasn't doing it out of cruel, out of malice. It was
Mm.
more him. It was more about him. It's more like I could do this better. I could do this better. But he wasn't taking into consideration of like how did you like it, or at least roll through it, then maybe go over and look at the dailies and see what and see how it worked. Because
Hmm.
I mean, maybe you're gonna do a scene 90% if the other actor is popping 100%, because you're right. You might ruin a good take for that particular actor, and
Well, and the thing is also when you're in a two-hander in anything, my belief always is that my performance comes from the other actor. Like if like if and that's why you always got to keep the lines of communication open. I mean, and if in a scene and you rehearse, or even if you don't rehearse, if you rehearse for camera and and do all of that, or if you just go out and say, hey, we're just going to do it, sometimes it clicks, sometimes it doesn't, and you need to do a couple of more takes, or you may need to step aside and like you know dig deep and investigate and figure out what isn't working. But most of the time you're just going on instinct because you just don't have the time in some cases. Like television, like big shows, especially a big network show like Scrubs was, they got that, you got the clock ticking. I mean, so the indie projects, a lot of the stuff that I work on, I think there's still some of that because I think and it's kind of exciting because it's kind of like guerrilla style in a way, like how people would describe John Cassavetes' style. Just do it, and then you know whatever happens, and if not, take two.
um, Hobbs mentioned he just makes sense what you said. Uh,
Hmm.
all right, so it's now about 8 after 8. So let me introduce our guest properly. He hails from New York City through Ohio. This is Timothy J. Cox. I've known Timothy now, what, for about 5 years?
Five plus years, yeah, I think.
Yep. You and I met off through my blog. I started
Hmm.
reviewing your shorts. You sent me your shorts. The first short I believe I reviewed of yours was Here Lies Joe.
Oh,
Yep, that was my first one.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I
that's
have
about four or
reviewed
5 years
Timothy's
ago. Yeah.
work. Yeah, I have reviewed Timothy's work the most on my blog. I have reviewed 16 projects of his, and also interviewed him as well.
Hmm.
And so I have known Timothy for a very long time, and he is a truly gifted actor. Um, he is a true craftsman. He is all about making the other people around him better as well. Um, though I'm not sure it's a title he necessarily would agree with, but I think so. But he is. he is the reason why I love short films. I call him the king of the shorts
Hmm.
because you're amazing in them. And all I can
Thank
think
you.
of when I see you work is like every director that gets you should be damn lucky to have you
Uh,
because it's like because it's you're not getting a student, you're getting a professional, a
hmm
working professional actor on your project, and he's going to elevate it. He's going to make you look good. So that is something that shouldn't be taken for granted. And any director that wants to hire Timothy J. Cox, well, they're getting a really, really gifted actor.
Well,
Um,
thank you. Very,
oh
very kind
yeah.
of you to say. Very kind of you to say.
Of course, our good friend Brian, who's and now can you believe this? Brian is now a professional film critic.
Bravo, Brian.
I know. He did the first interview I did for the podcast here. He did the very first interview, so I'm so tickled for him. Um, that he's a professional. He still says he's waiting for the first check, but you know what? That will come. That will come.
They'll come.
Um, that will come. That will come sooner than later.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Really, he's so dedicated.
Oh yeah.
I enjoy talking with him, and I know that he is a tremendous fan of your work as well.
And we talk, movies of all, kinds all of the time. And yeah, no, I mean we could go for hours probably just on John Ford alone, probably.
Well, that's funny. Oh, okay. Our good friend David Torr is now in. Greetings, sir. Greetings. We are talking to actor Timothy J. Cox. Um, you mentioned John Ford, and it's funny is that I'm interviewing a writer named Bill Levy on July 8th, who's written a book about John Ford and his stock.
Ooh.
John Ford was the originator of the stock company. I
Mm-hmm.
always thought it was Jack Webb, but it was actually John Ford, and
Yeah.
he had about 100 different actors that he used in his various films in his career.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he wrote a book about them, about the actors and which movies they played and how
Oh
much.
wow. I've
Yeah,
got to get my hands on that. If I could go back in time, I would want to go back and be a part of John Ford's stock company, like with Thomas Mitchell and Jane Darwell and Frank Phelan and Ward Bond and all of those. John Quaylen. I mean, John. I mean, when Brian and I were talking about Grapes of Wrath, I hadn't seen it in 20 years, and I watched. My eyes were just on John Quaylen the whole time, and it just broke my heart. But like that's the beauty of like those John Ford movies is that he highlighted everybody. Frank Capra did as well, and like just these great, great, great character actors.
Jack Webb did as well. I mean,
Yeah.
his focus was always on his co-stars. It really never really was on him.
hmm
He actually seemed a little bit more uncomfortable being on camera, though. And he actually tried to step down a couple of times from playing Joe Friday. Like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe get somebody else to do it, and they didn't want that. They said, "Well, we want you because you're the show."
He
But
was
whenever
so
he was on, he was
identified with that
very
part.
generous.
Yeah.
He was so generous. Okay, Tim. So let's go back to the start.
All
So
right.
tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background.
Well, I was born in Philadelphia. My mother and my father, who are, they're retired down in Ocean City, Maryland. I have three brothers, and well, my mom had four boys, four Irish Catholic boys, and we are all pretty different from each other. And I had a pretty normal, typical childhood. I played baseball, football, basketball. I was bad at all of them. But what I was is that I thought I was a decent mimic. That's what I would do. I would go up to the plate. I would be a terrible hitter, but I would go up and I would do a perfect Mike Schmidt stance. Or
Well,
basketball, I'd throw the ball throw up a shot like Larry Bird. Probably didn't go in a lot of the times. And maybe when I was in the eighth grade, they had auditions for the school play during the day. I don't know any school that would actually do this now. They had auditions for the school play to get out during the day and during math class. So I went to audition just to get out of math class because I
wow.
hated math. Got cast, and 30 plus years later, I'm still doing it. But my brother said that I was an actor even before I decided to become one, because I was always a ham doing, bad impressions of Brando and John Houseman and, people like that, because your family is your first audience. And so anything just to make them laugh. And, like a couple of years later, after, I think I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. And then right before high school, got into theater and, haven't looked back since. And that's what I've been doing more, a little bit of everything, theater and film, but I like to work.
So your family definitely was all about supporting you. I mean, there when you went out for the play and got it. And I mean, did you know right then and there that that's what you wanted to do? And
It took me when I first did the play. I remember the play. It was called Rags to Riches. It was a musical version of the O. Henry story, The Gift of the Magi. And I was the male lead, and I had to sing, and I was not a singer. And but he was the funny part. And when I got laughs, I thought, oh, that's kind of nice. And then I knew that I wanted to do it again.
Mhm.
But it was probably not until I was a junior or senior in high school. I remember I was always a big fan of classic movies, and my oldest brother Al, introduced me to Days of Wine and Roses, the wonderful film with Jack Lemmon and Lee Remick. I
Mhm.
remember I watched that movie and I was just knocked out. And I said, okay, I'm an actor. That's what I want to do. That film and Donald Sutherland in Ordinary People. Those were the two performances that said,
Right.
I'm an actor. And yeah, and then, I went to college in a small liberal arts college in Marietta, Ohio. Was able to get on stage, fall on my face, learn a lot, did the classics, and and I think that was when, I mean, I was always playing character parts, playing dads and uncles and things like that. But when I got to college, I was seeking out those kinds of parts,
Right.
specifically because I learned very early that if I was going to have any success in this work as an actor, which is a life where you're going to hear the word no a lot, you're going to have doors slammed in your face, and I knew that I had to be very strategic, and I knew that the secret to any longevity was to be a supporting actor, to play teachers and shrinks and dads and doctors and lawyers and those character parts.
All the parts that nobody really wants to. Someone's got
Yeah,
to, why not
yeah.
me? You know,
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up watching John Mahoney and John Lithgow and Ned Beatty and Charles Durning and Kathy Bates and all of these that I remember them more than I remember the
right,
stars most of the time, just because I've always equated being a good supporting actor or a good character actor like the sixth man on a basketball team. They're not the star. They come in, they score their points, and then they sit back down on the bench. They come in at the clutch moment. And if you look at, if we're looking at the films of John Ford, for example, Ward Bond always did that. Jane Darwell, or anyone like that. I mean, you just look through and you look through their resumes, and they would just have a resume that could choke a horse. I mean, just they were always working, and that's at the end of the day, that's what it's always been about for me. It's never been about making a lot of money, because if you want to make a lot of money being an actor, do something else. It's never been about being the star or anything like that. It's about just being a working actor, which you would it's hard to do because there's so many of us out there. There's so many actors, and in reality, so few projects. And most of the time, actors are, working for projects where they're not making money. They're making their own projects, which is great, wonderful. They may not be seeing any money from it. They're getting exposure, by posting it on Vimeo or YouTube or wherever they post it, and trying
I
to
was
get
gonna,
into festivals.
I was
And
gonna, I
it's
was gonna ask you that. I mean, I can understand when you first started. I mean, because it has to be the love of the craft for you. Because I mean, I was looking at your the database page, and you have 140 credits of all your projects that are either done or in the middle of the middle of completing.
Mhm.
Uh, and good evening, Jennifer Tochi. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for support. I was thinking when you first started out as a character actor in your short career, I can understand you doing it because you're learning your craft or whatnot, and you're growing as an actor and everything else. But I mean, now it's like to me, it's like you're well established. You have a name, you have a reputation. I mean, anybody looks at your list can see solid projects. You're award-winning working actor. You've won awards. You've been nominated. I mean, I mean, to me, it's like, wow. I mean, it's time to pay this guy, right? Don't you, I mean, the love, before doing a short for maybe gas money and a good craft table, now, do you have that desire that I've been here long enough, I sort of deserve to get paid just a little bit more?
Oh yeah, I mean, like you make on the projects you make, like a lot of the indie projects. I mean, you're not making Tom Cruise money. I mean, there are not many people that make Tom Cruise money, but you make enough where with the unions and things like that you're well protected and well taken care of, and a lot of the filmmakers that they're very understanding of that, and they I've never had to. It's been a while since I've had to chase anyone down for money, which that's nice because that's not fun for anyone.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like the reality is that there are peaks and valleys to an actor's career. I mean, of course, I'm consciously trying now. Everything I do is to do something where there is pay, where because you have to you got to pay the bills, and also there does come a time when you've earned the
Hmm.
right to you know
To
say
get paid.
yeah, I've done my yeoman service, I've done my pro bono, and I don't think it's unreasonable for an actor to ask to
Definitely.
be paid. I mean, I think there are, I mean, don't be you know don't ask for anything outrageous. You have to be, that's where your business hat needs to come on. But
Because I look into some of I'm in with some of the groups on Facebook, some of the actors groups, and I see that a lot where an actor, some director will come out there and they'll say, I'm shooting a short project, and I need, here's what I need, and I can't pay anything, but they'll get a credit for a movie database.
mhm.
And I just think to myself, I'm going like, you know what, like in a lot of actors, and I say this, and I totally agree with them, that a credit isn't paying the rent, you
Yeah,
know. And if you want professional actors to make your project look professional, I mean, listen, you don't need to come in here and ask for people to do your project. You could go out there and grab any five people off the street to do your project for free, if that's what you're asking these people to do. I
mhm.
need five. I need five actors, who want to come in and do a show, do a project. Okay, why don't you just go out to the same street? I mean, I do believe that if you're going to do a project, even if you're a new actor and this is the first short, you really need to do compensate your talent. You really need to do something for them. You might pay for their gas. You might do gas on the lunch.
Yeah,
You have to do something. You can't just go out there and offer them a credit
yeah.
off a project that might not even get done.
It does make a difference where if you do pay. I mean, one thing I always say is pay travel. Pay if I'm staying overnight, pay meals, and what they'll do, they'll pay you like a salary, and then they'll pay you other kinds of things like your travel and stuff like that. And usually, and I would say, hey, you don't have to, if it's somewhere easy, I'm fine with taking a bus, or because I know that budgets are, money is tight, money's thin, but it's something. If you pay for someone's travel, if you pay meals, if you put
Right.
them up in a hotel, or what have you. I mean, it really does make a difference. And what it does, it's a sign of faith. Like I'm entrusting you with this part. I'm going to extend this to you. And also, I think people forget that what we do as actors and writers and cinematographers and all of that, anyone in this work, it's work. It's our work. It's hard work. And if I call a plumber and a plumber comes out to the house and they have an expectation that they're going to be paid, an actor or anyone like that
Mhm.
has that same expectation.
Yeah.
Now we're not asking for, you know, you know, $10,000 a day or like anything exorbitant, but something, and that's why within the union they have specific tiers and breakdowns of depending on what kind of a project it is.
Can you explain that? I mean, I've heard about that. I mean, could you explain the tiers? Because I know that.
Well, it's complicated. I've been a member of SAG for a number of years, and it's complicated. It's something that I don't even fully understand myself. But there are numerous tiers, depending, I believe, on like the budget, the size of the budget of the film. Like in most cases, I believe a lot of student films pay will be deferred, but I think they would like salary, but they might pay your travel and if it's an overnight shoot that they would put you up in a hotel or an Airbnb or something along those lines. Obviously, the higher projects, your network TV shows, you're obviously making more. That's why people want to get guest starring roles in television, especially now with Amazon and Netflix and all of that. Because if you get something like that, it's good money and it's almost instantaneous exposure because the streaming market is just so extraordinary and it's just so popular. But I would say a lot of the stuff I work on is like the low budget stuff where I would say typically an actor would make per day maybe between 125 to $250 a day, which is not awful. I mean, if you're working 8 to 12 hours now, most of the filmmakers that I work with, they, try to be cognizant and respectful of time and not, have 16, 17-hour days. Of course, there are times when, if you're in the thick of something, you keep going. And of course, filmmakers also that I've worked with, we always work things out. And that's, and I don't think I've never had anyone who's cheated me, which is
Good.
nice.
That is good. So,
Yeah.
what was your inspiration for actually? Now that you did your first after you did your first high school, and that was I can understand that getting out because I wanted to because I wasn't math wasn't my subject either.
Yeah,
But
never
now that
liked
you
it.
got out of it, now here you are on your stage. I mean, was there anybody there that you looked at that inspired you to take it further? I mean, to actually like you did it for a lark, and all of a sudden it's like, could I do this? Am I good at it? Am I going to be good at it? Did someone come up to you and say, Timothy,
Yeah,
you have a future here?
it opening night of Rags to Riches, we were in our backstage area, and the principal of the school, Sister Phyllis, I remember her. She pulled me aside and she said, "You're good, but don't act, react." And it took me 20 plus years to figure out what she meant. And it's true. She said, that's why listening, listen. I would say I would say more than maybe 80% of acting is listening. Really good acting. And we watch Jack Lemmon. To me, Jack Lemmon was the best listener. I mean, he would listen and he would just take in everything. Katharine Hepburn was a marvelous listener. Spencer Tracy. I mean, those were the actors that like I really would look at and admire. Like they could listen and they could say pages of dialogue in a look. And it took me a long time to figure out what she meant by that. Because, when you're in the beginning, I figure I got laughs in that first play. So I figured, well, I'm just going to be a ham. I'm just going to be, getting laughs all of the time. And in the beginning, when you're in high school, you're kind of showing off and you're trying to get the attention of it's the first time I was getting the attention from girls, which was nice. Because if you play the funny part, that must mean you're funny. And so, yeah, I did Bye Bye Birdie. But then I did It's a Wonderful Life when I was a senior in high school, and I played George Bailey. And that was the first real acting challenge that I had because, one, I had to do something completely different than one of the most iconic actors and performances ever. I had to make it my George Bailey, not an impersonation of Jimmy Stewart's George Bailey. And that was hard to do. but that was a turning point where I figured, oh, I can be a dramatic actor. I'm more than just the funny, goofy guy, the ham. And then that carried over into college where, eventually, you learn about craft and technique and, becoming the actor that at the end of the day, you have to navigate through the craft and technique of acting. You have to do what works for you. And you go through a lot of years where you're banging your head against a wall, wondering, am I doing it right? And the reality is that acting is not about right and wrong. It's about choices and questions. The talent, that's where the talent is. The talent is in the choices, making bold choices. And that's the wonderful thing. I'm still figuring that out. I mean, when you're an actor, you're a student, and I'm still in class, and I'm still having a good time doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you never stop learning.
No, I mean you never do, and the thing is, I mean, I'm on some of the Facebook groups as well, and I read some of the comments that come out, and there are comments that people make, and I just like, ooh, like I know what you meant, but someone who is going to read this is going to think that's going to come off in a different way. I mean, that's the
Right.
thing about, email and social media, meaning and all of that sometimes, gets misconstrued. But yeah, I think, the more you look at this as a student, the more open and available, I think it'll be easier to navigate. I mean, the reality is that a lot of what an actor does on the daily basis is more business related. Like, well, why didn't I get this part? A lot of the time, it has nothing to do with your talent. It may have something to do with, well, you're short, and you were going to be paired up with someone who is your wife, and she's 5'11" and you're 5'6". I mean, like, there's always kinds of things. And yeah, there are going to be people who think, you know what, I'm just not buying what they're selling. And as Jimmy Buffett said, breathe in, breathe out, move on.
Yeah, and react.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've always been the belief that, and this is a supporting actor mentality. The next job is always around the corner.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you must have a lot of. Well, I'm going to come back to that because I'm going to go back to a couple of things.
Sure.
Now, I just want to go. Let's go back to now that you're in college. Now we already
Mm-hmm.
know it's your first audition, but I want to go back to, like, what was your first audition as a working actor? Like somewhere where you're actually going to try to land a project, not in high school, not in college, but in the real world.
I think I moved to New York in February of 2001, and yeah, I did this terrible production of Arsenic and Old Lace in a black box theater, in a hot box. And I was so excited that I was doing a play in New York. And of course the production didn't go very well, but it was a learning experience. But and then from there I got involved with a theater company. I got involved with the 13th Street Rep Theater Company, where I worked for 2.5 years doing original plays and readings. That was probably like the first time that I felt like a working actor. I mean, because it was constant. I mean, I was doing the children's plays, the original plays, the readings, and it was nice to be involved with the writers and the directors. And you really, it was an opportunity that I really took advantage of and learned a lot, built a lot of friendships with. And that was the time where it was an exciting time where I felt like, yeah, I'm an actor. I feel like a working actor.
Let's see. We got some people that came in the chat. I like to say hi to Foxy Lady Outdoors. Thank you for coming. Sam Moore, paramedics. Hey, hey. Misty Martin. I'm doing a black box play. Okay, what play are you doing, Misty? And what is a black box?
Well,
That's
usually
off Broadway.
a black box is an off Broadway, a very small theater, and it probably seats maybe 50 to 75 people. And if you know Arsenic and Old Lace, Arsenic and Old Lace is this big 3-act farce with, usually it's done on a big grand stage with slamming doors and sets. Well, we did this, we compressed this very fast-paced farce into this small black box. It was during July, no air conditioning, and I just remember I was playing Teddy Roosevelt, or Teddy Brewster, who thinks he's Teddy Roosevelt, just looking out into the audience and just seeing everyone in the audience taking their programs and just fanning their faces, and
Wow.
I remember thinking, New York theater.
That
But
must have been,
usually they're small, intimate theaters. It works great for a lot of, like, small intimate dramas, but it didn't quite work for a big farcical play with a cast of 15 to 20 people.
yeah, I could imagine. I could imagine how this, and afterwards, and you get to, you get to go up there and talk to the audience. Did the audience member ever try to give you like advice when you were doing those plays?
No, I mean, I remember I was doing some theater in the Bible Belt in Danville, Kentucky, at the Pioneer Playhouse. And, this is a town where, this is, in the theater there, they do Neil Simon, they do murder mysteries, and they do, very nice farces and very nice family dramas. And we were doing a play, and someone I think missed their entrance, and I ad-libbed God Almighty. And someone was coming through the line, and she handed me a pamphlet saying, God will forgive you for that. But and I didn't say anything bad, but obviously, I guess I should have chosen a different ad lib. But no, no. The only people that who have ever given me advice after a show have been my family. My father. Like, I was doing a play in Pennsylvania, and we had unlimited comps, so he and my mom would come every night. And
Oh
one
wow.
night, after one performance, I'd get in the car, and he said, "Tim, like, is there something bothering you?" I was like, and I said, "No." It's like, he said, "I don't know. You felt a little off tonight." I was like, and he was like, and I said, "Oh no, Dad, tell me, like, what was it that you saw?"
Okay.
And the next night, the next performance, I got in the car and I saw Dad. I said, Dad, how was that tonight? He says, "Oh, so much better." I was like, "Oh, good." I don't know what I did or didn't do the previous night, but like, that was, from my father, was extremely helpful.
See, Hobbs is mentioning some people consider YouTube personalities actors or actresses. How does one go gain an audience for YouTube? Anything one could do to appease an audience? Asking for a friend and an aspiring improv actor. Well, that's a really, actually, that's a really good question because that's a really good question actually because I know I have a good friend of mine who actually I'm interviewing here in a couple of weeks, and he's working with a YouTube personality right now. They're doing skits.
Mm.
They're doing a bunch of skits, and they're hilarious. It's a knockout. But that is an interesting question. I mean, I know it's a little off track, but but if someone did come up to you and they said, "Hey, because there are a lot of hams on YouTube. Basically, we can
Mm.
like." But if someone did actually come up to you and said, "Tim, uh, how because you want to improve your on camera, right? Now
Hmm.
maybe you're not an actor, like I'm no actor, but I still like to know how to improve my my performance going outward. I mean, how can I make myself look more appealing to an audience? So I mean, do you get questions like that? I mean, do you get questions, do you get asked questions like that from other actors? I mean,
No.
people must see you and they must say, Timothy's been around for so long.
Mhm.
There's a reason for that, I mean, other than God given talent. So what can I gain from it?
I think, what I see, if anyone, who if they've commented anything like that on Facebook pages or anywhere, the first response people usually have is, you got to find a specific hook. You got to hook them in with something unique and original. Like, I think the ladies who made Broad City, I think I don't know if that started out on YouTube or online platform, and someone from Comedy Central saw them. Um, I mean, especially in the world of comedy, you have to be so unique, and yeah, and of course you have to be funny, and you have to have that certain hook. And I think and I think using the market of YouTube, getting a strong audience, hitting a certain demographic, the age. I mean, who watches YouTube the most? Probably people between 18 and 35. Maybe it might be older, but I think like you got to find a hook, whether it's if it's improvisational comedy. People are going to wonder, where did you train? Did you train at Second City? Did you train at Upright Citizens Brigade? Did you, um, uh, I mean, training, all of that helps, that pedigree. But my big thing would be, yeah, like what's the hook? What's the thing that's going to be so unique that makes people not want to click onto the next video?
I hope that answers the question. Um, it says, Misty saying, "You're awesome, Tim. Congratulations, all your success, my friend."
Misty, I think I'm going to be working with Misty in Of Myth and Legend.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, Misty. We've seen each other on a couple of these group pages. This pretty prolific production company, I think, out of Florida, Backlot Studios. They're producing a plethora of movies. I think it's up to like 40 different projects that are coming up, and one of them's a western called Of Myth and Legend. That if you go on IMDb, it's actually going to star Robert Mitchum's son Christopher. Which, if people know the movie Big Jake, they'll
Yeah.
know that Christopher Mitchum starred in that. And I'm going to be. I think I'm going to be playing a bank teller. So, which means there's probably going to be a bank robbery, and I'm probably going to. I don't know if I'm going to be shot yet, but we'll find out. And I think Misty's going to be in the film as well. So, hopefully, we'll get a chance to meet.
Um, so I mean, I'm gonna go. I'll go back again. Sir, I keep on circling around here.
Sure.
But why shorts? I mean, why did you? Because I mean, this is most of your career has been generally shorts, and they've been excellent. But was it something that you like you said before when you decided to become a character actor? Like you knew that this, look, I could either hold out and be a star, and maybe work maybe once a year, or I could be a character actor and never want for a job. Was
Yeah, I
that the
mean,
same thing with a short? Was like, I could do shorts and always be working, or I could hold out for a feature film and then maybe.
my thing is, it's like I look at the parts that were coming along available, and parts that I was getting hired for. They just happened to be shorts mostly, and done a few feature films, some that haven't come to life, I guess. But yeah, I guess like in New York, a lot of shorts were going on because it's just what a lot of people were making to hopefully be a springboard to a web series or a feature film or something, a little more. I think a good short film can really be can help you, I think, in the long run. Because I think ultimately, I think a lot of filmmakers do want to make feature films and more expansive projects. Of course, that takes money, which a lot of filmmakers don't have. Of course, even with Indiegogo and all things like that, there's really only so much that you can generate from that. But no, with me, it was just, I guess there was never a set thing. This is where I'm only going to do shorts.
Yeah,
It was just the way things went. And, you try to do variety, whether it be shorts or feature films or web series. But I guess shorts have kind of outnumbered in many cases.
I think people pass you along. I think they say that if you want your project elevated, you go get Timothy Cox.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, like, I hope. I mean, I think, I mean, look, I've been very, very lucky. I mean, and that's, I've been lucky. And the thing is, now that we're coming out of everything from this past year, I'm hoping projects like Of Myth and Legend, and I'm also doing a movie called Breeding with the same production company, and Chat Rooms also with the same production company, which are feature films. I'm hoping that those provide new challenges and the ability to build new relationships. This business, this industry is about building relationships. The more relationships you build, the more you'll get that phone call and say, "Hey, Tim, I got a part that has your name on it," and great. When do we start?
Right.
Because I think any actor will tell you if there's one thing that we could cut out of this scenario, it's the audition. I mean, I don't mind auditioning, like the actual, but it's weird. Sometimes I think I'm a good auditioner, and sometimes I think I'm not a good auditioner. I think it depends on the situation, the material, and and of course, you try to. It depends on you try to park your baggage outside the door before you do an audition, and sometimes you're successful at that, and sometimes you're not.
I was going to ask you about auditions. I mean, what do you like better? You like in-person auditions or self-tape? I mean, that seems to be a big thing these days. I mean, I've
Yeah,
talked to
I think
several actors who say that they don't mind doing the self-tape. They could actually make it like a mini production. Then I got other folks who say that they missed it in person because that way they can impress with their personality as well, and they really can't necessarily pass that through
mhm.
on a self-tape. I mean, what about you? What's your process like getting ready for an audition? It's audition day. So what does Timothy Cox do to prepare for this audition?
I try to be as relaxed as possible, and I don't go in with this is how I don't go in with a set like parameters. Like you have an idea of an objective and that of a character objective, but you don't want to marry yourself to one rigid school of thought because if they see, and I've sat on the other side of the table, I've seen actors come in like, oh, this is how they want to play the part. And if a director tries to give them an adjustment, you could actually see the tension. You can actually see them tense up. The more relaxed you are, the more open, that's when you can play. And in that way, that's where I like the in-person audition. I think, I mean, self-tapes, it's the wave of the future now. And of course, through the pandemic, that's what it's been. I miss the in-person because there is that energy of being in the room. There is something electric that you do feel from being in the room. Even if, when you're auditioning and that, something doesn't click, there's still that energy that you get from bouncing off another person or another group of people.
Right. Now, I got one for you. I call this like I already used this one before, but I'm going to ask you because I love this question. It's my Zach Braff question. Um, and that is, if you're auditioning, if you're in a room for an audition, and there's another actor there that's competing for the same part with you, but they need some help in getting the character or running lines or whatnot, and they ask you for help. Are you helping them or no? And
Yeah,
why?
yeah. Why not? I don't look at it as, I mean, we're all in this together. I mean, I think like, if there's, I mean, not that I mean, if you think that, I don't think an actor would like try to steal. I think hopefully every actor would come in and try to bring their own. But no, if there's something that you would want to discuss, I think probably after the audition, maybe not during the audition. Like you go out for a couple of drinks after but maybe not before the audition because
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think because then it's kind of like, yeah, I think after would probably be better. And it's like, but that's the thing is, I mean, I can't, numerous times I would go into an audition room in New York, where if they would have a casting for males 30 to 40 or 30 to 50, you would have 200 guys in there. So it's kind of like, well, it depends on what type they're looking for. So, um, but yeah, no, I think I think after the audition, I'd be all for having a conversation if somebody wanted to.
Um, Okay, so this is my last question. As far as because I don't because I'm actually this question is sort of like actually I'm asking my own question. I guess is, but do you feel like you get typecast? Like I said before, I mean, I do think you get shared around. I do. I think other actors. I think your reputations is stellar, and I think and the thing is though, it's smart. If I'm like I said before, if I'm a young director, and I firmly believe that directors should do short films before they do features. I'm
I
not a
agree.
fan. I am not a fan of directors doing first time features without shorts. I just not. They make far too many mistakes, and I really don't really like writer directors doing their first projects. Yes, there are some that can do it, but for every one that actually manages to do it, there's 10 others that don't. It's something they're just stretched way too thin, and they don't know how to handle that. They don't know how to handle both jobs.
It's hard
So
work. Yeah,
it is
it's
very
hard
hard.
work. Well, and I think, directing a short film first, learn how, because if you're a young director, I mean, I'm not a director, so I would imagine you have to learn how you want to run a set, because the director is a general. Now, of course, there are generals like John Ford. Like John Ford kind of ran his sets with an iron fist, or William Wellman or Henry Hathaway. And then there are directors like Clint Eastwood or Sidney Lumet, where they're just real chill and relaxed. Everything I've ever read. When you're a young director, you need that time to build that up. And I think if you're going right into a feature film, yeah, I could see that could be stressful. I mean, there are some filmmakers, who I mean, able to do that. I mean, and they had a strong, if they have good script and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot, yeah, if they have a good script, but I've seen directors with good scripts, and they still have bobbled the ball. I mean, it's a very hard, it's a very, first time directors have, it's just it's a very fine line to walk. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that with a few shorts underneath your belt, work, basically gaining experience working with a larger crew, larger budget, larger everything. Oops. Oh, we lost him. He'll come back here in a minute. Uh, thanks for guys for showing up. This is awesome. Thank you so much. Um, I know it's probably a really nice day, and it's really early, and I'm looking outside and it's sunshiny outside. So I totally get everybody going out and enjoying the summer, but I'm thoroughly thankful that you guys are all here. Um, yeah, let me go get them. This happens. Okay,
Hey, it's
that's take two.
it's like live theater. Anything can happen.
Quick, react, Tim. React.
I'm back, but no, I mean, yeah, I think it's. I forget what was your the question.
My question was like, do you feel do you feel like maybe you get typecast into the genre?
I maybe I don't. I mean, not typecast as. I mean, I try to be very conscious of, like, not trying to be typecast in specific parts. Um, as far as, if people look at my resume and see, well, he only does short films, I don't quite see what the issue would be. I mean, a a film is a film, whether it's,
Yep.
length. I don't think I've ever had that kind of problem, but I try to be conscious about, like, typecasting, like, because there is this in this business that if they do see you do one specific part really well, you'll play that for the rest of your life. And so you have to, and that's the nice thing about indie projects, is that there are, every once in a while, you'll have a director who sees something that, I think you can do this, like, do something different. And you want to challenge yourself as an actor, and sometimes the challenge works and sometimes it doesn't, but you have to embrace the challenges. I mean, these days, I want to do parts that scare me. Like, if parts that scare you, that's all the better, just because um, you want to be challenged.
Well, what parts are you looking to do that what do you look for now? I mean, what's your what would you like to try to do? What would you want to do?
Oh God. Well, in the theater, in the theater, I want to hit the Eugene O'Neills and all the real happy fun plays. In film, I don't know. It's like you want to play something. You want to play something. I wouldn't mind playing a historical character, like something where I can, do some research and be like have some responsibility. Like I'm handed like I don't know, like Harry Truman, for example. I mean, like and I said I have to. It's my responsibility to bring as honestly as possible Harry Truman or whoever it may be. Um, I think something like that, like playing a historical character of myth and legend, is going to be my first Western. Now, granted, I don't think anyone's putting me on a horse or putting a gun in my hand. Good choice. Uh,
If they ask you
but
for a name, if they ask you what do you see your character naming themselves, tell them that you see yourself as Paladin.
yes, absolutely. But no, I mean, like, I think, getting into different genres, I haven't, would be fun. I don't think I've done like a real pure slasher horror film. Like, and I used to watch those movies, like, you know, growing up, like Graduation Day or Sleepaway Camp or all of those movies, that movies they just embrace what they are, like just the
Well,
pure camp value of it. I mean, and it would be fun. Be fun to do that, or a Hitchcock suspense thriller, or like a really smart thriller.
oh, you mentioned the horror because you mentioned you like to do horror because that brings up, that's got to bring up. I'm going to be talking about this because this is my absolutely favorite thing I've seen you do. Um, and I still think that has elements of horror in it for sure.
Hmm.
The way that movie is, and that is To Be Alone.
Yeah,
That is a horror film, I think.
it
I think
is. I mean,
I
I
think
think
that
I
is
think there are elements of horror and maybe the twisted in there.
yeah,
I mean, in many ways, it's part morality tale about this
especially how
man
you
grappling with faith.
especially how you explained how you saw the movie, Andy, which is total 100% horror.
Yeah.
100% because
Oh
you
yeah.
saw the ending as like, oh yeah, he's gonna go out there and whack that guy before.
Oh
I'm like,
yeah. He
yeah,
has to.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he has to. I
So
mean, that's the way that if anyone, it was a great movie to work on,
oh,
and
fantastic.
yeah,
And
Matthew Mailer, and he was marvelous to work with, and that came at a time when I think that was close to the time when my brother passed away. So, and that was a time when a movie about one grappling with faith, timing, I guess.
that's what really moved me too because when I saw it, I was grappling with my face. So
Mm.
that movie's it's like it's so interesting. It's so out there and so different and I just loved it. I love it. That's my favorite one. It's my favorite performance of
Thank
yours.
you. Yeah,
Um,
the piano. That's I think the horror when the piano, the single piano chord. I love that Matt designed, and just like the walking up the stairs. That was you don't know what's
total
behind
horror.
that door.
It's a total horror film. It really is. I think it's an amazingly beautiful film, but it's definitely yeah. Um, so what are your five best directors you've worked with? Now I'm gonna put you on the spot for this
Sure,
because
sure.
you worked with a lot of directors, but I want to put this in two ways. I want to put
Okay,
this like I'd like to know your five directors that you worked with that have had some experience, and your five first time directors that were cutting their teeth with you. I mean, that was their first time project, and they had you on the project. I mean, and then you get
right.
to five that already have some experience.
Sure. I would say Sean Meehan is a director I've worked with many, many times since around 2010. And he is probably my favorite film director that I've ever worked with, just because Sean, we speak the same language. I mean, we just click. Like it's something that I can't really put into words because we just have this shorthand that we've developed. And from the first film, which was Over Coffee that we worked on, we just clicked. And he is probably my top director. I would have to put Mark Battle, the director of Here Lies Joe, up there. He's probably the best cinematographer slash director. His films are beautiful. I mean, Here Lies Joe is a beautiful film visually. It's so wonderfully constructed and put together. And
I
Mark,
really, I, I remember that movie. I loved your part in the role, and I loved the guy who played Joe. And this is a credit to the actress, but boy, did I really dislike her a lot.
the character of Z, yeah.
Just did not like her at all. Just ooh, vile. Just like no, not my cup of tea at all.
Mm.
But that being said, that makes her performance really good. But I really did like Joe. I thought,
Yeah.
I thought that was a good movie. I thought that was.
Yeah, it was a really solid movie and like no, very, very expertly done.
A very
Wow.
tough subject. Suicide is not an easy subject to cover. And when you only
Yeah.
have when you only have 15 minutes or 15, 16 minutes to talk about it, it's not much time to tell that story. And, that's what I really respect about shorts is like, that's some master storytelling. I mean,
Hmm.
a full length film, yeah, you got a lot of room to breathe and move and everything else, but doing that in a short time, it's just like I got nothing but respect. And Here
Yeah.
Lies Joe was one of those movies.
Yeah, then credit goes to Mark and Pam Conway, who wrote a marvelous script. Let's see, number three, another director that I really liked. Oh God, wow! I'm sitting there trying to like remember a lot of directors. Um, I have to. One of the first movies that I did that I was genuinely proud of was Socks and Cakes, which I did in 2010. And the director was a gentleman by the name of Antonio Padovan. And he was a director from Italy. He was very meticulous. He knew, and I liked working with him because he was very specific about what he want. You could tell that this was a man who knew film and knew that, and I knew I was going to be in very, very good hands. And it's a very, very good film. It's a film. I mean, there are parts of it that I wish, oh God, wish I could go back and do some parts again because I think I would be able to do it a little better now because I'm a little older.
Right.
But Cy Cody White, who directed The Watchers, also in 2010, he was also another great cinematographer director. That was real guerrilla style filmmaking. Like he and co-writer and co-star Jeff Moffat, they would do that on a very shoestring budget. I think overall, I think they made that 28-minute film for about $800. And it's a wonderful professionally shot film. Cy is like he's just got that great eye for action sequences, and he was marvelous. I have to put Matthew Mailer up there as well.
Yeah.
Matt. The first time I worked with Matt was on Dark Romance. We did Dark Romance, What Jack Built, and then To Be Alone. And when I
Has
first
he,
worked with
has he gone
Matt,
on? I'm sorry. Has he gone on to do anything else now? I,
he is not at the moment, but I think I mean, if he were to call me tomorrow with a project, I would be there. I mean, that's because he's a smart he's a smart he's a smart guy as well, and he's a young kid. I think when I first worked with him, I think Dark Romance. I think he might have been 13 or 14, and I was not hesitant because when I spoke to him, he was spouting off, these are the kinds of shots I want to do. He had storyboarded everything, and this is like, I'm a big fan of this director and that director. And I said, the fact that he's even quoting these directors, I have to give it a shot. And he's very, very smart, very knowledgeable. He not only writes the films, he directs them, he produces, he does the score. He knows exactly what he wants, and he goes in and he gets it. And he's a pleasure to work with.
I hope that's one guy I'd like to see with a full length. I'd like to see him. You know, I like to see what he can do with a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, I know he would be able to do something really, really extraordinary. And I think he's always writing, and I think it's just timing. I think it's always. And now that I think that we're coming out of the pandemic and that productions are starting to go back to work, who knows what will happen? And then let's see, 5 directors where it was their first project.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyone that just leaped out at you with like impressed you with how prepared they were, and
I did a movie called Terry Kendall and Orange Green and worked with a director named Max Scaff, who was the script was so strange and so odd that I said, I want to work with the person that wrote this. And Max is a very, very quiet, very kind, very polite individual. And they were a great writer and great to work with as a director. Very easygoing, very relaxed, very chill, and I loved watching Max. I was just very impressed with how he operated.
all right. That's
Yeah, it's hard to find other directors that was their first time. I mean, I've been lucky to work with. I mean, I have I have one director that I could think of. This is from over 15 years ago. A director who I don't think she's a director anymore, and I think she, in the span of like 10 minutes, she tripped over the wires and broke 2 big lights. And if you know anything about these lights, they probably cost a couple $100 a pop. So I mean, she was very, very nice, but I think like
not ready.
yeah,
It
but
happens.
yeah, it happens. But like, it's hard work. I mean, it's hard work making a movie because if when you're the director, you have to be steps ahead of everyone else. I mean, like and again, like the actors, you have to be a general, but you have to be, there are directors who scream and yell and get results. There are directors who scream and yell who don't get results. I'm of the belief that you get nothing from anybody by screaming and yelling.
No.
um I just don't. I think you have to be in control, make it clear that the buck stops with the director, but there's a way of approaching things. There's a way of speaking to people, working with people. You have to be a collaborator at the end of the day. That's really, you have to be a collaborator. You have to be open. You have to be available. Things are going to change. Things are going to go wrong. Things, if you're shooting outdoor scenes, the weather is not always going to go your way. But you have to
And
be
these are all
open
things
and
that
ready
young
for anything.
directors, these are things all young directors and actually young talent have to be able to think on their feet and deal with it. They just kind of be like, it happens. So how do we do? How do we react to that? Like you said, you have to react. And so
Yeah,
how do we react to that? So, I mean, not everybody can do that. There's some
sure.
people that they get stressed out.
Well, and it's kind of like, when you rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and then something happens where you just have to rely on spontaneity and your instincts. You never know what's going to come from that. I mean, good things may come from that. I mean, but I think you just got to take a deep breath and do it, and know that in the end, it's all going to come together because it has to.
Uh, so you've done like you said, you've done features and you've also done some TV work. So what's the big difference between working on an indie film and maybe doing a TV show?
Uh, Indie films, you could actually, I think you get more done. I think with
But
there is this kind of on indie films. There's this feeling of you got to go. Excuse me, you got to go, which is exciting because you could do if you have a 30-page indie short script, you might have to you can do 10 pages or so in a day. On network television, just because you might spend 16 hours filming this much of a page of dialogue just because the network, they want to get every angle and especially if it's a party scene, then you have to film all of this extra footage.
yeah,
So the indies that I worked on, I prefer just because it's smaller crews. It's a little more relaxed. I mean, relaxed in the sense of like that. We're all here. We want to do good. We all want to do as good work as possible, but we the clock is a ticking.
oh yeah, I can imagine because you worked on the show Bull, right?
I did. I just played like a juror, and that was fun. And that was kind of exciting to watch because, the actors, who have to deliver these long courtroom summations are being given script changes up to the moment, before they're ready to roll. And I remember watching Freddie Rodriguez and just being incredibly impressed that he was able to get it, because there's something that kicks in where it's like, all right, you give these changes, you just got to drill it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then eventually, but there are actors who might grumble or what have you, but he was like, all right, I got it. Let's do it. And I said, that's a pro, because you have to be ready for anything. There's always going to be changes and things like that, especially in sitcoms where they're thinking, well, does this joke work? Or, well, no, that we got to change that word for that word. And it's kind of like, you got to be on your toes. You got to be ready for anything. It's
Sorry,
exciting. It's exciting.
sorry, Paladin's stealing scene here. I got to take him out.
Hey, can't compete.
Yeah, he's trying to nibble on the cord here, and I can't have that. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. All of a sudden, I noticed, and he's starting to see the cord, and he's starting to nibble, and he's like, "Dude, you're like 10 years old. You're too old to be doing that shit. You're not a young kitten anymore."
No.
Sorry about that.
No worries at all.
Yeah, because being a scene stealing, one of my favorite roles that you did, and I wanted to ask you if this was the totally improv, but you did the night job,
Oh yeah.
and you do you still remember your line?
I remember I was very profane in
Yeah.
that part.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I had me crying. I mean,
That
because
that was improvised. Yeah, we the entire argument between me and the handyman of all of that and the whole key. I mean, I think there was one line in there that was scripted, and he said, I have the key. I think it was something along the lines of, I have the key, I don't need you anymore. I decided to be a little more colorful
yeah,
with the dialogue, and that was fun to do, because
oh my
like,
god.
I mean, that was a fun part, because
Now,
just
do you feel do you do you improv a lot, or are you or do you find that directors don't really like that too much, or do
I feel it out. I feel it out. I think in that case, J. Antonio, the director, I think he encouraged that. He wanted to spice things up a little bit, and so he encouraged it. I think most of the time, if the script is, I mean, I would say most of the time the script, you're following the script, because most of the time the script's good. I think there was an improv in Greg's Guardian Angel where I improvised the line, Greg, I believe, if you wear green ties, you hate this country, you hate America. And it was just such a ridiculous thing. I just popped in, and Dan Kowalski, the director, kept it in. But yeah, I would say the beginning in Night Job, that whole sequence, in the end of my scene with the handyman, all of that I think was pretty much improvised. It was
I
fun to
really,
do.
I really liked about that too was that the fact that he shot it in black and white.
I like that. I really think it added. I don't know if that was an homage to Clerks, which I know that was a big influence on him. I think Clerks and Jim Jarmusch's films, and but I enjoyed working on the film. I think the film, the reaction I think was a little mixed, but Jason is an example of someone who I admire his guts for doing it, because that was his. I think he had done a short film prior, and this was his first feature film, and he learned a lot from it. And he's a great guy and a great filmmaker. And I know that if he felt that he made mistakes on it, he's going to improve on it. And that's you're gonna stumble, you're gonna trip,
It's
but
not going to get any better if you don't.
yeah, I mean, it's like with anything, I mean, you keep coming back and you keep trying and you do it. If you do it, you will understand it.
Um, well, I got to ask you a question because I mean, it's one of the things I for sure wanted to ask you. But you were really busy in New York. I know you had a day job. You were a tour guide,
Hmm.
and you were really busy. What prompted the move from New York to Ohio? I mean,
When the pandemic started in New York, I remember I was on a tour on a boat going over to the Statue of Liberty with a tour group, which I had done many, many times, looking at my phone and wondering, and I knew this thing's going to get bad, and it's going to get bad in New York. And I thought, if God forbid anything were to happen to me or to my wife Jamie, Ohio, where my wife has family, we're in the Bellbrook area, which is close to Dayton, and my in-laws are like 10-15 minutes from us. And my wife has a brother and two sisters, and there's a lot of family in the area. And I just thought a strategic move, that getting out of the city, if God forbid anything were to happen to Jamie and Spencer, my son, would be provided for. And I mean, it was a big move. I mean, it was a huge life-changing move. But the reality is that I think things are good. The reality is anybody can be an actor anywhere. I can travel. I hope to travel for projects. I look forward to traveling for a myth and legend and breeding and chat rooms wherever they may be working. I think a myth and legend is going to be in New Mexico, I believe. But Ohio is it's a nice home base. I think it's good for Spencer to be near family and near his in-laws. We go see my parents in Maryland. We're going to see them in about a week or two, and I think, as much as I love New York, and I love New York a lot, I think at the time I think it was the best choice for my family to get out of the city.
now, have you found out? Because I actually know there's quite a bit of activity in Ohio as far as filmmaking
Oh
goes. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of filmmakers
there's
coming.
a really healthy film scene, especially in Cincinnati and Columbus. And I have a film critic colleague, Kirk S. Fernwood of One Film Fan, who's also, like yourself, has been a champion of my work as well. That we hope to get together, and we'll see if maybe there's some filmmakers that he can introduce me to. And but no, I mean, Ohio is a good home base. Number one, the airport here, the Dayton International Airport, is a dream compared to LaGuardia and JFK. Not as crowded, so
Oh,
if
I
I
can imagine.
if I travel, I'm sure getting through the airport. I mean, of course, I just jinxed it. Getting through the airport might be easier, but no, it's nice. We've been here since April 20th of last year, and it's been great. It's been great for Spencer. He has a nice big backyard to run around in. We have a dog now, and although Spencer's still getting used to the dog, it's nice for Spencer to be around family, and it's nice to have that.
Um, I won't. Our time. I won't keep you too much longer. And if anybody in the chat wants to ask some questions to Timothy, please do so. Um, so what are your five favorite roles that you've done? The work that you've been most proud of.
Oh wow, two of them are plays. One is a play I've done the play two times. It was a play I did in 2014 and 2017, a play called Rounding Third, a wonderful play by Richard Dresser. It's about two fathers, two very people who look at the world very, very differently, who are tasked to coach a season of Little League Baseball. One father, one the head coach, he's all about winning is everything, and the state championships. He remembers how many home runs he hit when he was in Little League. And then the character I played is someone who just said, let's just go out and do it for fun. And there's a lot of comedy that comes from that, but also there's a lot of heart and a lot of drama. And
They made a
that
movie out of it.
they did. They made a movie called Benched with John C. McGinley and Garrett
I saw
Dillahunt.
that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and then I also did a production of Yasmina Reza's Art, which I did, I guess, about 2 years ago now, and that was one of the most challenging roles that I've done in the theater. As far as film roles, I would put To Be Alone up there as a favorite.
Yeah.
I would put To Be Alone up there.
I really love Malice, PA too.
I like that one. I like it. I had
so
a lot of fun on that one. I also have a special place in my heart for Doll It Up. Doll It Up was it's again, that was, I think that movie could have gone in a different direction, but I think the fact that I played it completely straight, because you can, with a story of a man who has a marriage to a blow up doll,
right.
it could be very sophomoric, and I think Yalan who wrote and directed the film, was very specific in how she wanted to present the character of Gunther, and I'm very proud of that one as well. Yeah, I would have to put. Wow, it's hard to get it down to, because there's so many I have so many fond memories of. I like the character of Bill in Here Lies Joe. I mean, it's a brief character, but he was such a genial, nice man that, like, that I think you just wonder if he's in the right, if this thing is for him, like, if he's in the right situation. He tries very hard, but I think he might be in a little over his head.
Now there was a movie that you and I reviewed. It's actually the only one that I didn't like the movie at all. I liked you a lot. I thought you were outstanding in it. Impassioned. What was that one? No, not that one. It was The Politicians. They were the father.
Solutions, yeah. Solutions.
How do you what happens to an actor when they're stuck in a project that, let's be honest, okay, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I just didn't get it.
Yeah, you didn't like it. I remember you didn't like that.
I just didn't get it. I loved your performance. I mean, you rocked it. I mean, I was sitting going like, but it was such a disconnect.
And well, I think with that movie, I remember when I saw the film the first time, I was taken out by the dramatic score. Like, the dramatic score was almost like, it reminded me like of a dramatic score for something like a Get Shorty kind of movie. And I don't know, I just thought the movie was a little darker. But Zach, who directed the film, he was great to work with. But sometimes, sometimes movies work, and unfortunately, sometimes they don't. But I think universally the reaction to the film, I think, was, sort of mixed. Yeah.
Yeah. It happens.
It happens.
What happened? I mean, how do you handle your press? I mean, like I mean, me and Brian, we both like you a lot. But not every critic's like that. There's some critics that maybe don't really particularly care for a project. I mean, how do you handle something like that?
I mean, like, look, the reviews, the positive ones that I've received, I've been very fortunate and lucky. It's nice, but and the bad reviews, I mean, everybody gets them, but you just kind of shake them off. I mean, either way, a good review, it's kind of like. It's like a I don't know. It's like a shot of whiskey or a cookie. It's a momentary high. And the bad reviews, it's a momentary like, oh, oh, all right. But like, I mean, I don't know. I can't think of anyone recently who has been. There was one critic years ago who was just nasty, and then I went back and I read all of his reviews, and he doesn't like anybody. So I guess I felt like I was in good company, I guess. But no, I mean, the press. I mean, the reviews and things like that. It's very, very nice when you get acknowledgement like that. But as an actor, you still have to get out there and do the hustle and get back on the horse.
Right. So so the next three projects you got going are going to be the three features.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's going to be a while. I think of the three of them. I think of Myth and Legend. I think that's the one that's closest to entering in production. But no, it was written by Leon Brumby and his wife Michelle, and it's being produced and directed by Charlene Hum of Backlot Studios. And no, I mean, over the last year, Charlene has just been working tirelessly to get not only this project but all of the projects. You know, it's hard, but she's been pretty tireless. I would imagine you'll probably have a few of Myth and Legend, because I think I added a few of Myth and Legend cast members to your group. So hopefully
Okay.
you'll get a chance to talk to them as well, because it's a
Yes,
big it's
and
a big
and
cast.
thank you for that. You and Brian definitely add a lot of flavor with your additions. I appreciate that so much.
My pleasure.
And yeah, it's been awesome, Tim. I mean, I've been looking forward to this when I booked it. I said, now we're going to be able to finally talk face to face.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
I guess I will go ahead and get this closed, because I know I want to at least have a little bit of time with your son before he has to go to bed.
Oh,
So,
I think he's already in bed.
oh, did he?
Yeah, he's already in bed. He had a bath
How old
tonight.
is Spencer now? Is he 5 or is he 5 now?
He's going to be 4 in November.
4. Okay. So you're right. He's getting used to the dog. What kind of dog did you get him?
We got like I guess like part I think he's part hound dog, I think, and like a I'm still not I'm not an expert on dogs, but the dog is he's rambunctious. He's we call him Sammy, and he's great.
Well, when he gets a little older and a little bit more mature, he can handle a cat.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, I think I have allergies to cats.
What?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
my
know.
God. That's just terrible.
I know. Where did
That's
it
like
all go wrong?
that's the worst affliction that anybody could have.
I
I feel
know.
sorry for people. Oh, yeah, they have a perfect life, but I'm allergic to cats. Oh, your life sucks. Well, I tell you what, when Myth and Legend gets wrapped up and gets closer to ready for release, we will definitely come back and revisit. Maybe we'll bring a couple of your castmates on
Yeah,
and do a little bit of a round table, and which I would love to do. And
absolutely.
we'll talk again.
Sounds good, my friend. A pleasure to speak with you, and
Yeah, thank
thank
you,
you very
Tim.
much. Take
Yep,
care.
you too.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for our guest Timothy Cox, and oh yeah, I guess I could. Yeah, you should be able. You should be able to just back. You can back out, Tim, if you need to. I'd like to thank Timothy Cox. Yep, there he is. For the interview. And we will be back in July. We'll be back in July on July 6th at a special time, which will be noon Eastern time. Noon Eastern time. We will be interviewing actress Kelly Goody Price, who has done a new movie called April. And some of you might know her from the movie The Baylock Residence that she did for Wild Eye, that a bunch of us really enjoyed and reviewed. And we'll talk to Kelly. We'll catch up with Kelly and what she's been doing. That will be July 6th at 12 noon. On July 8th, we will have writer and TV historian Bill Levy will be here. Bill Levy will be here. And we'll be talking all things Lawman, John Ford, other classic TV westerns, Have Gun Will Travel, Cheyenne, Rawhide. all that. And we'll be talking to him on the 8th of July. Um, yeah, that's about it. I'd like to thank everybody who came out and supported the show. I appreciate your support, and we will see you on Sunday night for the midnight hour. It's July for Jen. We will be doing a movie telethon for Jen. If you have any spare movies that you'd like to donate to her, please bring them to the show so we can list them up and get them to her. She lost her collection in a flood, and we're just trying to help her out. So I will leave all the Tim's information below. His Instagram page. I do think he might have a Facebook page. I'll try to put that on there, and I'll also put Jennifer Tochi's page so you guys can see who we're helping. All right, that's it for me too. So on behalf of the Cheetah who was stealing scene earlier, I'm out of here. We'll see you next. We'll see you on the 6th. Peace.